registered dietitian nutritionist in Tucson, Arizona, and I am collaborating today with the Tucson Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to bring you some quick and healthy and easy recipes that do taste delicious. And today I will be making something that you can make for yourself pretty quickly, and you can have kids help you if you are, a parent and taking care of your kids at home these days, like most of us are. And it's a pretty classic recipe that I know my mom used to make for us, and it was always a special treat. It was, homemade, and always tasted great. It's pizza. So pizza, you can't go wrong with pizza. I know most of us love pizza. I love pizza. So I'm going to show you one way to do this with different types of breads, just depending what you have. Just know that, this is just a guide, and you make it your own. So I've got my ingredients laid out here. Let me show you what I've got. So I am using these birote breads from Barrio Bakery. So this is a local bakery. Don Guerra makes all different types of breads, but this is one that I love and my kids love, and it works great for this recipe. You can also buy these at the grocery store. Also the bolillo breads are great too. You can get those at Fry's and Food City. So those are great. So these are just individual pizzas. My mom always used English muffins. You just split them and then start adding your toppings. You could also use if you're making a recipe for more people or a bigger one, you can use French bread or baguette. That works great too. So we are going to be using mozzarella cheese, which is pretty much the classic cheese. So you can use shredded mozzarella, you can use fresh mozzarella that comes in like a ball, and you just slice it up. We're going to be using, of course, Parmesan cheese. We've got our tomato sauce. Actually, this is a pasta sauce. Use whichever one you like. You can even just use plain tomato sauce if you want. Some of the things that we're adding in, so I use oregano, dried oregano. I'm going to use some garlic powder, onion powder as well. If you're watching your sodium intake for heart health reasons, for if you have high blood pressure, then you definitely would want to go for the powders instead of the salts, because the cheese that you're using, or that we're using, has plenty of salt. So no need to add extra sodium to this. So we're using the powders. You can also use something like nutritional yeast. Some people use that. That has kind of a cheesy sort of flavor. And then these are just some ideas. You can use sun-dried tomatoes, which are great. They have a really bright flavor. You can use jarred pesto sauce. And then again, you can use canned tomatoes. I think it's pretty evident if you've seen my other videos. I love canned tomatoes. So you can use fresh. You can also use canned. So, so some add-ins are the tomatoes. You can add in spinach. I love mushrooms, so you can add that in as well. And then we've got some fresh basil. This grows really well if you don't have much of a green thumb like me. Just make sure that basil is constantly watered, and so far so good with my fresh basil. So here we go. We're just going to I'm just gonna move this down so you can see what I'm doing. So I've got my bread. Oh, one other thing, sorry. One other thing, you can buy a pre-made pizza crust, and then you can, of course, build your pizza that way. You could also slice it into, just slice it long ways, and then just make individual pizzas that way. So anyway, continuing here. Oops. Okay, so just cutting this in half. This is nice dense bread, so it works really well with this recipe. And then what I would do when my kids were little, I would just put everything in bowls like this, and then they could do it themselves. I mean, even when they were like 3 years old. You know, it's a good way to get kids in the kitchen. It's a good way for them to build, you know, a good relationship with food, especially if you have, you know, more picky eaters. This gives them a choice. You know, you can have different vegetables that they could top it with. They feel empowered. They get comfortable in the kitchen, and that's always good. It's always a great skill. Again, you can use the shredded stuff. So you go, oh, well, let me do this. So usually this would be the better order, I guess, to put it in. I've got some of my dried oregano, so I'm just seasoning this sauce. The sauce already has seasoning, but I'm adding a little bit more here. So it's the oregano, and then the garlic powder. Just season that. I like onion powder too, so I'm gonna add that in. And this is the nice thing, is you can, you know, you may not agree all on the same kind of pizza that you like, but this way you make it your own, you personalize it, and everybody's happier. Okay, so doing cheese, I'll use the fresh mozzarella on this one. So this is nice because it's very stretchy, like once it's, you know, heated, it's got that nice, beautiful, like cheese pool once it's in the oven. And I'm putting mine in my toaster oven just because I'm just making this small batch. But if you're using, you know, your regular large oven, you'd set it to about 375. And then since it's so small, it'll cook up within just a few minutes. You just kind of want to watch it. Everybody's ovens are different, so just watch it, and then yeah, you know, it'll be ready in less than 10 minutes for sure. Okay, this is also a good way to introduce for kids, you know, maybe a vegetable that they're not so crazy about, raw or cooked, but on a pizza, they might just be willing to try it. So I'm just gonna leave this one cheese. Okay, so I did some TV magic here already, so I'll bring this over here. They've been sitting in here for a little while, so they might not look super fresh, but it smells delicious. And I'll bring this back over here, and this is what they look like. They're so good. They're a quick lunch for kids and for adults as well. A fun thing to do in the kitchen, always tastes good. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. And my website is ChristyWilsonNutrition.com. You can look for more recipes there. And on Instagram, I'm ChristyWill74, and I'm always kind of posting stories about what I'm cooking up in the kitchen. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Stay safe and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.